Picture this. The lights are blazing, cameras flashing, and the sports world standing still as Deion Coach Prime Sanders drops a bombshell that no one saw coming. In a move that's got fans buzzing, rivals fuming, and NFL insiders scrambling. For answers, Sanders has declared, with a kind of swagger only he can deliver, that his son, Shedeur Sanders, and his star player, Travis Hunter, won't just be drafted high. They'll both be taken in the top 4 picks. And if the teams at the top don't play ball, well, Deion says they might just pull an Eli. That's right, folks. The ghost of Eli Manning's legendary draft day standoff has been awakened, and the stakes couldn't be higher. But here's where the drama explodes. Behind the scenes, whispers of feuds, hidden agendas, and power plays are already swirling. Could this be a masterstroke of loyalty and leverage, or the spark that ignites an all-out war between NFL franchises, families, and fan bases? Emotions are already running high. Friends are turning into rivals. Even within Sanders' own circle, tensions are said to be boiling over. One thing's certain, this isn't just about football anymore. This is about pride, power, and a family legacy on the brink of rewriting history. The moment Deion Sanders sat down for that interview, the room felt like it was charged with electricity. Cameras clicked, producers whispered into headsets, and every single eye in the studio locked onto Coach Prime as if they knew he was about to drop something huge. But no one, not even the seasoned hosts, could have imagined the storm that was about to come. With a sly smile tugging at the corner of his lips, Deion leaned back in his chair and said the words that would send shockwaves across the sports world. Shedeur and Travis are both going top 4. And if certain teams don't respect that, well, we might just have to pull in Eli. Instantly, jaws dropped. The reference was unmistakable. Everyone remembered the 2004 NFL Draft, when Eli Manning and his family stood their ground against the San Diego Chargers, demanding control over his future. It was legendary, defiant, and divisive. And now here was Deion Sanders, claiming his son and his superstar recruit might follow the same path. The producers behind the cameras nearly fell out of their seats. The anchors exchanged nervous glances, unsure whether to challenge him or sit back and let him burn the house down. Within minutes, social media lit up like wildfire. Fans tweeted furiously, some praising Deion's boldness, others condemning it as arrogance. "This man thinks he runs the NFL now," one fan posted, while another wrote, "Coach Prime protecting his players like a true father figure. Respect." But the real drama was only just beginning. Behind closed doors, NFL executives were reportedly furious. One unnamed GM was overheard saying, "We don't negotiate with parents, we draft players." The statement leaked within hours, sparking even more outrage. Suddenly, it wasn't just about football. It was about power, pride, and the idea of whether one man, even one as legendary as Deion Sanders, could bend the NFL to his will. But the fallout wasn't confined to the league offices. Within the Sanders household, tensions began to bubble. Shedeur, normally calm and composed, was said to have pulled his father aside after the interview. "Dad, I appreciate everything you're doing for me," he reportedly said, his voice low but firm. "But what if this backfires? What if teams don't want to deal with us because of the drama?" Deion, never one to flinch under pressure, fired back. "Son, let me tell you something. They need you more than you need them. You've got talent they can't ignore. Trust me on this." But the conversation didn't end there. Travis Hunter, the other half of Deion's bold declaration, wasn't as sure-footed. Sources close to the player revealed he called a longtime mentor late that night, his voice full of worry. "I didn't ask for this spotlight," Travis confessed. "I just wanted to play the game I love. Now it feels like I'm stuck in a chess match I didn't even sign up for." The mentor tried to calm him, reminding him of his once-in-a-generation talent. But the doubt in Travis's voice was undeniable, And then came the families. While Deion's declaration had united some fans in awe, it had divided his inner circle. Shedeur's mother reportedly questioned whether Deion was thinking more about his own legacy than the boys' futures. "Are you doing this for them or for you?" she asked him in what insiders described as a heated exchange that left the household in silence for the rest of the evening. Outside the home, the ripple effects grew even messier. College teammates chimed in, some publicly supporting their brothers. Others worried that the NFL would now look at Colorado players as high maintenance. Even rival coaches couldn't resist. One unnamed Pac-12 coach, when asked about Deion's comments, smirked and said, "Classic Prime. Always making it about himself. Let's see if the league buys it." Meanwhile, draft analysts scrambled to rewrite their mock drafts. Suddenly, conversations shifted from who would land the first overall pick to which franchises had the guts to stand up to Deion Sanders. ESPN panels debated late into the night. One commentator warned, "This could blow up in everyone's face." "No one wants another Eli saga," another countered. "But let's be real, both of these kids are generational talents. Teams would be insane not to draft them, regardless of the drama." By the second day, the storm had engulfed everything. Reporters camped outside the Sanders home, desperate for quotes. Fans shouted support and criticism in equal measure. And somewhere deep inside the NFL offices, quiet strategy meetings turned into heated arguments. Should they call Deion's bluff? Or should they bend to his will to avoid another historic draft day fiasco? But perhaps the most shocking development came when rumors surfaced that a top NFL owner had reached out privately to Deion. Insiders whispered about a tense phone call where the owner allegedly told him, "You don't control this league. If you try to strong-arm us, you're going to regret it." Deion, true to form, reportedly laughed and replied, "Sir, I don't need to control the league. I just need to control my boy's destiny." That single quote, leaked by someone who claimed to be on the call, ignited the sports world even further. Was this a battle between tradition and revolution? Between an entrenched system and one man's vision of loyalty and empowerment? The lines were drawn and fans were picking sides. Some saw Deion as a hero fighting for his players' rights. Others painted him as a manipulator, putting his own ego above everything else. But deep down, the real tension wasn't with fans or analysts, it was in the hearts of Shedeur and Travis. Behind their calm public appearances, both were wrestling with impossible choices. Did they stand by Deion's words and risk alienating the NFL before even stepping onto the field? They pushed back against the very man who had guided their careers to this point. As the nights grew longer and the draft drew closer, whispers of cracks in the foundation grew louder. Insiders claimed that Shedeur confided to a close friend, "I don't want my career to start with a fight. I just want to play." And Travis, sitting in his room late at night, stared at his phone, scrolling through messages from fans who either worshipped him or cursed him. "Why does it feel like I already lost before the game even started?" he muttered under his breath. The scene was set. Emotions ran high, families were divided, and the entire sports world stood on edge, waiting for the next twist in this saga. And little did anyone know, the next twist would come faster and cut deeper than anyone could have imagined. The tension inside the Sanders home was unbearable. Days had passed since Deion's bold statement, yet the echoes of his words still lingered in every conversation. The family dinner table, once filled with laughter and casual banter, had turned into a silent battlefield. Forks clinked against plates, eyes darted nervously. And no one dared to speak until Shedeur finally broke the silence. "Dad, you've got the whole world talking about us. But did you ever stop to think how it feels to have our futures hanging in the balance like this?" His voice trembled, not with fear, but with a quiet frustration that had been building. Deion leaned forward, his eyes sharp, his tone firm but calm. "Son, I've been in this game longer than most of these people have been alive. I know how this system works. If you don't set the terms, the league will. And trust me, they don't care about you, me, or Travis. They care about control. But it wasn't enough to convince everyone. Across the table, Shedeur's mother crossed her arms. Control or pride? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're gambling with our son's future just to make a point. Her words cut deep, and for a rare moment, Deion had no response. The room fell silent again, the unspoken tension louder than any argument could be. While the family wrestled with their own conflicts, the outside world was turning the saga into a full-blown spectacle. TV panels dissected every move. Is this a calculated strategy or just prime? Being prime, one analyst asked, shaking his head. Fans flooded message boards with heated debates. This is the revolution college players needed, wrote one supporter. Another fired back, nah, this is selfish. He's ruining their draft stock. Travis Hunter, caught in the middle of it all, was unraveling quietly. Friends close to him noticed the change. Once full of confidence and swagger, he now walked the halls of Colorado with his hood up, earbuds in, avoiding eye contact. When teammates asked how he was holding up, he brushed it off with a forced smile. But behind closed doors, he confessed to a close friend, "I feel like I'm drowning. This isn't me. I just want to play football, not fight battles I never asked for." Meanwhile, NFL scouts whispered nervously. One report leaked that a top franchise had serious concerns about drafting Shedeur, fearing his father's influence might create long-term headaches. Another rumor swirled that Travis's camp was quietly fielding calls, trying to reassure teams he wasn't part of any standoff. The mixed signals only deepened the chaos, and then came the first major public clash. During a nationally televised sports roundtable, a respected former NFL coach openly called Deion out. With all due respect, he's overstepping. This isn't about family loyalty anymore. This is about ego. The NFL won't be strong-armed. Within hours, Deion fired back on social media. "When you've walked in my shoes, coached my kids, and built what I've built, then you can talk. Until then, keep my family out your mouth." The clapback went viral, with fans either praising his defiance or blasting him for his arrogance. The drama only escalated when reports surfaced of a secret meeting between Deion and a group of influential NFL agents. Insiders claim the meeting turned explosive, with one agent slamming his hand on the table shouting, "You're gonna cost these boys millions if you keep this up." Deion, unshaken, allegedly leaned back and replied coolly, "Money ain't everything. Legacy lasts forever." As if the situation wasn't messy enough. Rumors began circulating that a rival coach from another college program had been feeding the NFL negative narratives about Deion's influence, hoping to sabotage his players' draft stock. When this rumor reached the Sanders camp, tempers flared. Shedeur, usually reserved, snapped at a teammate during practice, yelling, "They think I'm just my dad's mouthpiece. They think I can't stand on my own. I'll prove every single one of them wrong." Teammates tried to calm him, but the frustration in his voice made it clear. The pressure was eating him alive, Travis. On the other hand, spiraled into doubt. Late one night, he was overheard on the phone with a cousin, his voice cracking. "What if no one picks me because of all this? What if I wasted everything?" The cousin tried to reassure him, but Travis's words revealed a deep fear that he might become collateral damage in a fight he never wanted. The public, of course, couldn't get enough. Fans camped outside practice fields, chanting support for prime time or booing the players for what they saw as entitlement. Reporters hounded the young men at every turn, their questions sharp and relentless. "Are you willing to sit out a season if you don't like the team that drafts you?" One asked Shedeur. His measured reply, "I just want to play football," did little to silence the noise. Behind closed doors, Deion continued to project confidence, but cracks were starting to show. In one heated exchange with an advisor, he reportedly shouted, "Do you think they'd treat Peyton Manning's family this way?" No, but when I stand up for my boys, suddenly it's a problem. His frustration was palpable, his sense of injustice, fueling his determination. Yet, even as he dug his heels in, his inner circle grew more divided. Some friends and former teammates urged him to back down, warning that his reputation was becoming toxic. Others cheered him on, insisting he was rewriting the rules in favor of player empowerment. The split left Deion isolated, unsure who truly had his back. The most shocking twist of all, however, came from within the NFL itself. Leaks revealed that at least 2 top draft teams were seriously considering passing on Shedeur and Travis. Not because of talent, but because of off-field distractions. When the news hit the Sanders household, the atmosphere shifted from tension to outright panic. Shedeur confronted his father late one night. "Dad, they're talking about passing on us. Not because of how we play, but because of all this noise. What if I end up dropping? What if Travis drops?" His voice was raw, his eyes full of worry. Deion, for the first time, didn't have a quick answer. He paced the room, his hands on his hips, the weight of the world pressing down on him. Finally, he stopped and looked his son in the eye. "Sometimes you gotta risk everything to change the game. But I promise you, you won't fall. I won't let you." But as the draft grew closer and the noise louder, even Deion's unshakable confidence was starting to show cracks. The lines were blurring, the stakes were climbing, and the storm was far from over. And just when it seemed things couldn't get more dramatic, a shocking betrayal was about to rock the Sanders camp to its very core. The betrayal came from a place no one expected. It wasn't a rival coach, it wasn't an anonymous GM, and it wasn't a bitter analyst. It was someone inside the circle, someone Deion had trusted for years. A report suddenly leaked to a major sports outlet. Detailed conversations, text, messages, and even private family arguments about the draft situation. It was all there, laid bare for the world to see. The leak painted a picture of chaos inside the Sanders home. The article claimed that Shedeur had broken down during one of the heated debates, telling his father, "You're making me a pawn in your war." It also revealed Travis had considered publicly distancing himself from the family to protect his draft chances. Fans were stunned, rivals were delighted, and the NFL world exploded with speculation. When Deion saw the report, his face turned stone cold. He gathered his family and closest advisors in the living room, pacing like a general, preparing for battle. "Somebody in this room sold us out," he declared, his voice sharp as a blade. The room fell silent, eyes shifting nervously. Travis looked down at his shoes. Shedeur clenched his fists. And even Deion's longtime friends avoided his gaze. "Dad, this is insane," Shedeur said finally. "We can't keep fighting everyone. Maybe it's time to just let it go." But Deion's pride wouldn't allow it. "Let it go, son. This is bigger than us. They want to scare us into silence, and whoever leaked this helped them." Later that night, as the family sat in uneasy silence, a new twist emerged. One of Deion's closest advisors, a man he'd trusted since his NFL days, admitted privately to Shedeur that he had been the source. "I didn't do it to hurt you," he said softly. "I did it to save you." The league was turning against you both. "I thought if the truth got out, maybe they'd see you as kids caught in the middle instead of rebels." Shedeur was torn, betrayed, yet oddly sympathetic. But when Deion found out, his reaction was volcanic. "You betrayed this family," Deion roared, shoving a chair back in anger. "After all I've done for you, you stabbed us in the back for what? To make yourself look like the hero." The advisor tried to defend himself, but the damage was done. Their relationship shattered in that moment, trust obliterated. As the news spread, fans reacted with pure disbelief. "Coach Prime's own camp is crumbling." One headline read, "They can't hold it together at home. How can NFL teams trust them?" Pundits piled on, framing the family drama as proof that Deion's influence was toxic. Emotions ran high. The family was left divided, and the narrative spiraled out of their control. Travis, already struggling with the spotlight, hit his breaking point. One night after practice, he stormed into Deion's office, his face red with frustration. "Coach, I love you, but I can't keep doing this. I can't be part of some power play. I just want to be drafted to prove myself on the field. As your pawn, not as your symbol, as me." Deion leaned back, wounded but defiant. "You think the NFL's gonna respect you just because you play nice? No, son. They'll chew you up and spit you out. I'm fighting so that doesn't happen." Travis shook his head, his voice cracking. "Maybe I don't need you to fight my battles. Maybe I just need you to let me breathe." The confrontation shook the house to its core. Whispers spread that Travis was considering making a public statement, distancing himself from the Sanders camp. Fans debated furiously online. Was Travis betraying his mentor, or was he just trying to save himself? And while the family drama unfolded, NFL teams pounced. Insiders leaked that certain franchises were salivating at the chance to exploit the chaos. One GM reportedly said, "If Travis splits from Prime, he'll fall right into our lap. We're counting on it." Another insider claimed Shedeur's stock had dipped from a projected top 3 pick to the back half of the top 10. Shedeur, overwhelmed by the headlines, lashed out at his father late one night. "This isn't about changing the system anymore. It's about your pride. You're so focused on being the hero, you don't see that we're the ones paying the price." Deion stood there in silence, his usual fire dimmed by the sting of his son's words. The cracks widened when rival players began mocking the situation publicly. One highly touted quarterback prospect posted a cryptic tweet. "Some of us let our game do the talking. Others let daddy do it." The post went viral instantly, igniting a war of words online. Fans of Shedeur and Deion fought back, but the damage was undeniable. The perception of Shedeur as just his father's project was spreading like wildfire. Still, Deion refused to back down. In an explosive press conference, he stared directly into the cameras and declared, "I said, my boys will be top 4, and I meant it. We ain't backing down. If that means pulling an Eli, then we'll do it. I don't care what it costs." The boldness electrified his supporters but horrified his critics. Inside the Sanders home, though, the mood was far darker. Shedeur sat quietly in his room, scrolling through endless streams of tweets, his face pale. "They think I'm weak," he whispered to a close friend on the phone. "They think I can't stand without him. Maybe they're right." Travis, meanwhile, walked the halls with a heavy heart, knowing that whatever choice he made to stand by Deion or to separate would define not just his career, but his identity. And just as the family began to fracture, yet another twist hit the headlines. Anonymous sources claimed that an NFL team at the top of the draft had already told Deion directly, "If you try to pull an Eli, we'll make sure neither of your boys ever sets foot on our roster." The threat was chilling. The power struggle had reached new heights. The NFL was drawing its battle lines. The Sanders family was staring down the possibility of losing everything. The storm wasn't slowing down. In fact, the biggest explosion, the moment that would either break them apart completely or force them to unite against the world, was still waiting just around the corner. The threat from the NFL executive hit like a thunderclap. Deion had been brash, bold, unflinching, but this was different. The words echoed in his head long after the call ended. "If you try to pull an Eli, we'll make sure neither of your boys ever sets foot on our roster." For the first time, doubt flickered in his eyes. Was this fight worth the risk? Or had he pushed too far? But Deion, being Deion, he refused to show fear. Instead, he called a family meeting that same night. Everyone gathered: Shedeur, Travis, their mother, close friends, even the advisor who'd betrayed them but still lingered. On the edges of the circle, the air was thick with tension. "They're trying to scare us," Deion said, his voice booming through the living room. They think threats are gonna break us. But let me ask y'all, do you want to bow down to the system, or do you want to stand tall and show them who we are? Shedeur, sitting with his head in his hands, muttered, "Dad, you're not listening. I don't want to fight, I just want to play the game. I don't want my first season in the NFL to start with a war." His mother nodded, her eyes locked on Deion. "Listen to your son. This isn't about your pride anymore. This is about their futures." Travis leaned forward, his voice softer but laced with desperation. "Coach, you've been like a father to me. You've guided me, believed in me when no one else did. But right now, I feel like you're fighting for yourself, not for us. And I can't keep carrying that weight." The words hit Deion like a punch to the gut. For a moment, the legendary coach sat in silence, his larger-than-life aura dimmed. Then, with tears welling in his eyes, he whispered, "Everything I've done, I did for you boys. I never had someone fight for me when I was coming up. I swore my kids would never have to feel that way." The room fell silent, emotions raw. Shedeur looked at his father, torn between love and resentment. "We know you want to protect us," he said quietly, "but sometimes protecting us means stepping back and letting us make our own choices." Outside that living room, the world was watching with bated breath. Sports networks ran non-stop coverage. Headlines screamed about the Sanders standoff, and fans were split down the middle. Some saw Deion as a visionary, a father willing to risk it all for his sons. Others called him reckless, a man willing to sacrifice his kids' futures for his own ego. Emotions ran high, and the family was left divided. The climax came on draft night. The cameras were everywhere, flashing lights, buzzing microphones, fans chanting and booing in equal measure. Shedeur and Travis walked the red carpet in sharp suits, their smiles forced, their nerves barely hidden. Deion, dressed to kill, walked beside them like a king leading his heirs into battle. As the first pick was announced, the tension skyrocketed. Not one, not two, but 3 quarterbacks went before Shedeur. Then came the 4th pick. Everyone held their breath. The commissioner stepped up to the podium, reading the cards slowly. With the 4th pick, he paused for effect. "The franchise selects Travis Hunter." The room erupted. Cheers, boos, and gasps collided in a storm of noise. Travis hugged his mother, his teammates, even Deion. But the embrace was stiff, filled with unspoken tension. Then came the 6th pick. And finally, Shedeur's name was called. He stood tall, forcing a smile, but inside he wrestled with the knowledge that his father's gamble had nearly cost him. As they held their jerseys on stage, reporters shouted questions about Deion's threats, about the Eli comparison, about whether they'd stand by the teams that drafted them. Shedeur leaned into the mic, his voice steady but deliberate. "I'm grateful for this opportunity. Just want to play the game I love." Travis echoed the sentiment, carefully avoiding any mention of controversy. Deion, however, wasn't ready to back down. In post-draft interviews, he declared, "They tried to scare us. They tried to break us. But look where we are now. Top picks, just like I said." His bravado sparked more debate, more division. Behind the cameras, though, the cracks remained. Travis was still questioning whether staying tied to Deion would help or hurt his future. Shedeur wrestled with the weight of carrying his father's legacy and his own identity. And the family, though momentarily united in the spotlight, still felt the sting of betrayal, pride, and unresolved conflict. Fans were left stunned. Was this the beginning of a new era where players and families could dictate their futures? Or just another cautionary tale of ego and ambition colliding with reality? The saga didn't end with the draft, it only left the world asking more questions. And as the cameras shut off and the bright lights faded, Deion looked at his sons, pride in his eyes but uncertainty in his heart. Had he secured their legacies, or had he planted the seeds of a rift that might never fully heal? The Sanders family walked out of that draft night divided, celebrated, and haunted. their story now etched in sports history. Their next chapter, uncertain. What a ride, right? From Deion Sanders dropping that bombshell about Shedeur and Travis, going top 4 to the shocking leaks, family clashes, NFL threats, and that dramatic draft night, this story has been nothing short of wild. Emotions ran high, fans were stunned, and the family was left divided in ways no one could have predicted. We saw loyalty tested, friendships betrayed, and pride put on the line. And yet, through all the noise, Shedeur and Travis still stood, tall, proving they have the talent to shine no matter what storm surrounds them. But the real question is, what happens next? Will Deion's bold stance be remembered as revolutionary? A father protecting his sons at all costs? Or will it go down as reckless, a move that nearly derailed to promising careers before they even began? Will Travis truly carve his own path, away from Deion's shadow, and can Shedeur prove he's more than just his father's son? One thing's for sure, this saga has changed the way we think about the draft, about family, and about who really holds the power in the NFL. And now, we want to hear from you. Do you think Deion was right to take such a strong stand, or did he push too far? Should players have the power to pull an Eli, or does that kind of move hurt the game? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We're diving into them in our next video. If you enjoyed this breakdown of all the twists, betrayals, and drama, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next in this saga. Because, trust me, the story of Deion, Shedeur, and Travis is far from over, and you'll want to be here when the next chapter unfolds.